Back in the 1970s, some police departments weren't rolling around in basic cruisers. They were packing serious heat under the hood. We're talking V8 muscle, race-tuned engines, and cars that looked ready for the track, not a patrol shift. And no, this isn't some movie fantasy. These were real cop cars chasing down real criminals at breakneck speeds. From sleeper sedans to machines that later became Hollywood legends, these are the 5 wildest, most unexpected rides ever issued a badge. At first glance, the Valiant Regal 770 looked like something your neighbor might take on a long family road trip, wide, comfortable, and quiet. But back in the 1970s, this unassuming sedan was hiding a surprise. In Tasmania and Western Australia, police departments put this car to serious use, not because it looked intimidating, but because it had the guts to keep up with high-speed threats while staying calm and collected. The Regal 770 came with engine options that included a 5.2-liter and 5.9-liter V8, producing between 172 to 213 kilowatts. That translated to speeds of up to 193 kilometers per hour, all delivered through a smooth 3-speed automatic transmission. Not bad for a cruiser that didn't draw too much attention on the road. And that was part of its magic. It didn't need to scare anyone with looks. It just needed to be ready when things got fast. The cabin was designed with comfort in mind: wide bench seats, solid build quality, and a suspension setup that could handle rough roads without bouncing the car all over the place. Long patrol shifts were easier in a Regal than many of the more aggressive muscle options, and that meant officers stayed alert and comfortable even after hours behind the wheel. The car's body was sturdy, made to last, which gave police departments a better return on investment. In an era where car chases were more likely than today and where stopping a suspect sometimes meant taking a hit, durability wasn't optional. But the Regal delivered. This wasn't the flashiest or the fastest police car of the decade, but it earned its place by doing exactly what was needed and doing it reliably. The kind of car that worked hard and kept its power tucked just under the surface until it was needed most. And speaking of cars built for tighter spaces and quicker reactions, up next is a machine that didn't rely on size or brute force, but on speed and agility. The kind of car that tore through city streets and cornered like it was on rails. Let's take a look at the Holden Torana GTR XU1. In the 1970s, not every police pursuit happened on the open highway. Some criminals slipped into back alleys, tight suburban corners, or bustling city traffic, where raw speed alone wasn't enough. That's where the Holden Torana GTR XU1 came in, a lightweight, punchy machine built for precision and quick reactions. The XU1 was based on the compact LC and LJ Torana platforms and featured a 3.3-liter inline-6 engine equipped with triple Stromberg carburetors, producing around 119 kilowatts. That doesn't sound like much until you remember the Torana weighed just over 1,100 kilograms. That gave it an impressive power-to-weight ratio, allowing it to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 7.4 seconds. On tight city streets, that kind of acceleration was exactly what police needed to outmaneuver suspects weaving through traffic or trying to lose them in narrow lanes. This car wasn't just fast, it had a serious racing pedigree. The XU1 shot to national fame when Peter Brock took one to victory at Bathurst in 1972, cementing its legacy as a motorsport weapon. That same race car DNA made its way into the law enforcement versions, giving police a high-performance tool for fast, technical pursuits. And while the police versions didn't come with race livery, they still carried that same winning engineering under the skin. Police departments favored the XU1 for specific tasks. It wasn't the default cruiser, but it was called in when officers needed to act fast in confined areas, footpath cutoffs, alleyway traps, or intercepting a getaway before it hit the freeway. It was also cheaper to maintain than the bigger V8 cars and sipped less fuel, which mattered in the middle of the oil-conscious 1970s. There's something iconic about the idea that the same car that won Australia's toughest endurance races also chased down criminals in everyday traffic. The Torana GTR XU1 proved that speed, handling, and smart engineering could do just as much damage as raw horsepower. But if you thought this pocket rocket was quick, wait until you see the car that turned real police officers into track day heroes. Coming up next is the Chrysler Charger E49, a pursuit vehicle that didn't compromise on size or speed. Let's talk about the muscle that made even experienced drivers grip the wheel a little tighter. When speeders started hitting triple digits on open highways, Australian police needed something that could catch them fast. That's when the Chrysler Valiant Charger E49 entered the picture. This wasn't a support car or an occasional pursuit backup. It was a full-fledged, high-performance pursuit vehicle used by Queensland and Western Australia police, and it brought serious muscle to the force. The E49 was equipped with a 4.3-liter Hemi 265 inline-6 engine, tuned to deliver a stunning 225 kilowatts without any turbo or supercharger. What made it really stand out was its triple Weber 45 DCOE side draft carburetors, which helped squeeze every ounce of power from that high-revving straight six. It was the most powerful six-cylinder Australian production car of its time, and in the right hands, it could launch from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 6.1 seconds, with a top speed of 209 kilometers per hour. Those numbers weren't theoretical. This car had real-world speed, and law enforcement put it to work. On long country roads and sparsely populated highways, the E49 had enough punch to chase down modified streetcars, motorcycle riders, and even interstate smugglers trying to outrun the law. What made the Charger E49 so practical for police wasn't just its speed, it was how well it handled that speed. It had a 4-speed manual gearbox that gave officers precise control, especially during high-speed shifts and quick downshifts. The E49 also came with a track-tuned suspension setup and stiffer springs, making it one of the best-handling big-engine sedans available to law enforcement at the time. The car's fastback body helped improve high-speed stability, while the wide track and low stance kept it planted through corners. Police drivers who trained in this vehicle often described it as raw but responsive. It demanded skill, but when driven properly, it could stick to the road at speeds where other cars started to float. Inside the cabin, the Charger had a sporty layout, bucket seats, a 3-spoke steering wheel, and a driver-oriented dash with performance gauges clearly visible. This was important because officers needed to stay locked in and focused, especially during high-risk highway intercepts. The Charger E49 was also tough. It could take the stress of repeated high-speed chases without overheating or wearing out its brakes too quickly. Many of the police models received reinforced components to extend service life and handle more aggressive use than any civilian version. As high-speed chases became more common, the Charger wasn't just effective, it was feared by those trying to outrun it. Criminals knew when this thing showed up behind them, the chances of getting away were slim. But as powerful as the E49 was, the next machine took things to a cinematic level, literally. Because the car we're about to explore didn't just serve on the force, it also became the face of one of the most iconic post-apocalyptic movie franchises ever made. Before the Ford Falcon became a cinematic icon roaring through deserts in Mad Max, it was out there doing real police work. In the 1970s, Victoria and New South Wales police used high-performance Falcon GT sedans, specifically the XA and XB models, as part of their highway patrol fleet. These weren't showpieces. They were real, government-issued machines built to catch anyone who thought they could outrun the law on long Australian roads. The Falcon XB GT stood out with its menacing blackout grille, twin hood scoops, and flared wheel arches. Under the hood, most models used by police were powered by the 5.8-liter Cleveland V8, delivering over 240 kilowatts. That translated to a top speed of around 209 kilometers per hour and to 100 kilometers per hour in about 7 seconds. These weren't numbers for show, they were matched with heavy-duty suspension, reinforced chassis, and 4-wheel disc brakes to bring that speed to a stop when needed. For long-distance patrols, these Falcons offered a great mix of speed, endurance, and durability. Police departments often added extras like spotlights, CB radios, and even tuned the engines for better mid-range torque, making them even more effective on wide-open highways. They could go toe-to-toe with modified muscle cars that some offenders were using, and often win. And here's where it gets even more interesting. When Mad Max director George Miller needed a car that symbolized chaos and authority at the same time, he didn't build one from scratch. He went out and found a real, decommissioned 1974 Ford Falcon XB sedan, a former Victoria police car, and gave it a fresh coat of bright yellow paint. That car became Max Rockatansky's MFP Interceptor, complete with the signature red and blue lights on the grille and black fender flares. The film's impact turned the Falcon into a global cult vehicle, but back in the real world, these cars were still doing shifts on the road, chasing down speeding drivers and patrolling the most remote parts of the country. The police versions were toned down visually, but they carried the same bones that made the movie car legendary. Some versions were later modified to resemble the Pursuit Special from Mad Max 2, but the real takeaway is that the film didn't invent the image, it borrowed it. The wild, high-speed world of Mad Max had real roots in Australian law enforcement, and the cars that tore across the screen were born from real patrol duty. So, would you trust a supercharged V8 patrol car to keep your streets safer? Or is that era long gone? Drop your thoughts in the comments, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe for more crazy stories from the golden age of automotive history. Until next time, drive safe, but not too fast. You never know who's behind you.